The myth that I wish we would get away from is that exposure is enough. you know,
Oh God, that is so true. This
you
is gonna be
know,
really unpopular, Natasha. I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but I'm so tired of seeing, oh, well, just they just need to know about it. Oh, maybe, but it's so much more than that.
no, it's deeper than that. I mean, people are like, no, we still need to expose. But there's a part of me that says we've been exposing for like 20 years.
Welcome back to the Empowering Women podcast, where we celebrate bold voices, human fueled leadership, and the women who are shaping what's next. I'm your host, Shannon Baumgartner. And on behalf of Empowering Women in Industry and our incredible founder, Charlie Matthews, thank you so very much for being part of our community. You truly are the heartbeat behind connecting, educating, and empowering women. When each one of us rises, we all rise together. Now, this episode arrives at a powerful moment. It's February, it's American Heart Month and Black History Month, a time that really invites us to lead with intention, reflect on legacy, and remember that real change happens when we put people at the center of the work. And today's conversation, it does exactly that. My guest is Dr. Natoshia Anderson. She's an engineer turned educator, CEO, and founder of the Anderson Strategy Group. And she's also the host of the Stemming in Stilettos podcast. Dr. Anderson is a true force in STEM education, equity, and leadership. And she's very deeply committed to building programs that don't just exist, they last. In this episode, we talk about the heart of STEM, why exposure alone is not enough, how community and culture shape confidence, and what it really takes to scale programs with purpose and integrity. We also explore what it means to keep going when the work feels heavy, even when you know you're walking in your purpose. So grab your coffee or maybe a little heart healthy tea and settle in for a conversation that's thoughtful, energizing, and chock full of wisdom. This is the heart of STEM, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So let's dive right in, and I will see you on the other side. Welcome back, friends, to the Empowering Women podcast. February is a month that reminds us to lead with heart and purpose, and today's guest is a perfect blend of both. Dr. Natoshia Anderson is a powerhouse in STEM education, equity, and advocacy. She's an engineer turned educator, the CEO and founder of the Anderson Strategy Group, and the host of the Stemming in Stilettos podcast, where she shines a spotlight on the incredible stories of minority women in STEM. From developing high impact, culturally responsive STEM programs to training thousands of educators around the globe, Dr. Anderson has proven that you can engineer change from any seat, and she's pulling others up every step of the way. So grab your coffee, your little heart healthy tea, maybe, and join us for a conversation about purpose, perseverance, and putting people at the center of every equation. Dr. Natoshia, I am so excited to have you here.
Same. That was if I do say myself, like it was like, who is she talking about?
Yeah,
I love
sometimes
it.
it's hard to sit through your own introduction, right?
Right. That was great. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Hmm.
Well, Natasha, where I love to start is just getting to know and let our listeners get to know you a little bit. If I'm correct, you began as a mechanical engineer, then you moved into STEM education leadership, and obviously now you run the Anderson Strategy Group, where you help organizations scale STEM programs. So tell me, what was that pivot like? It just seems a little crazy for
It,
most of us engineers.
it really wasn't in a
Okay.
sense. It's at some point I knew I was going to be a teacher.
Mm,
So Teachers or teaching education is really big in my family, and we are a family of educators. Like my brother, my sister, my cousin, my uncles, my aunts, all were in education. Like my aunt owns a chain of early childhood learning centers in South Carolina.
Mm,
So it's like we do this. This is what we do.
okay.
One of my cousins was a professor at Morehouse College. Is all
Oh
the
gosh. Okay.
yeah. So education is a thing, and so I knew that I was going to be in education in some way. Um, it happened because I felt like what I wanted to do was go into education so people could actually see me, right?
Mm,
And maybe it was a little presumptuous of me, but I'm like, I've sat in so many rooms, and you probably have too, where you were the only woman there. You know, I was either the only woman or the only Black person, only
mm,
minority there. And I was like, this cannot stand, right? And so I said, let me go teach so that they can see me as an engineer, as a person who has, done the things that they see are or they think are impossible, right? You have to be
mm,
smart, you have to be blah, 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 you have to be all those things. And I really wanted my message to be you don't, you just really need to have an interest and be willing, right? Because it's all
right.
a big old learning curve. Um, and so that was my motivation when I said, I'm going to go teach. So I taught math. Um, and while I was teaching math, of course, I don't know if you know, but it was like one of those things I got in there and people were like, oh, you want to do this work? Okay, well, then we'll give you this, and then we'll give you this, and then we'll give you this. And my engineering brain, turned on. And I was like, okay, well, now you want me to run this program, but this program is not the best, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you're a process and problem solver. I love it. Does not
Correct.
surprise me,
So
but it doesn't. Go ahead.
Correct. So I started, really saying, okay, what would make this better, right? Has no processes. People don't know when it is. It's every other. It was out of control. So I said, I really want to make sure that everybody knows when this is so they could take full advantage of it. And then what are the other pieces of the puzzle, right? So processing, problem solving, putting together a whole program, a holistic program so that what it was is it was an after school homework program for students who were having issues in math.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I was like, okay, so that's fine because I taught math, but I also was like, well, what if we taught their parents, we gave their parents some
Mm,
basic information to be able to help them at home because
right.
it's, like, and I said we're addressing two issues. We can't get parents to come to the school for like student teacher conferences, right?
Mm,
But they'll come if you tell them like this is a way for you to help their kids. They were
mm,
terrified because they were like, I did not have a good math experience, all the things. I started with like 5 parents. It went to like 15 parents. Then it went to like a classroom full, like 28 parents. And then it was like, oh, I need some help because I don't have, because parents understood like, we're not trying to teach you complex calculus. We're
right.
trying to teach you enough so you can say to your kid, hey, when you're checking problems, hey, you might want to go back and you added when you should have subtracted. If we could get
Right.
the parents to that point, we were golden
Mm.
and it worked.
It's interesting you say that because I've done a previous podcast a few seasons ago with someone who was working on girls in STEM, and a lot of her focus was on the parent and the guardian
Yeah.
versus just the child, was a girl in this case, child, because I think you've linked that already. You kind of got to get both sides of the equation.
You do because try as we might and might as we try the stereo. So what I did, this actually goes back to my dissertation. So my dissertation was on the math and science achievement of middle school girls. Um, And what we discovered is that what their parents believed was really high up there on whether this girl thought that she was good in mathematics or science,
Yeah,
right?
and I think most what of the stat I've heard most girls decide by like third grade ish whether
Yep.
they're good at math or not. And if they say, "Oh, I'm not good at it," then they're done, right?
It's
For
like a
many STEM fields.
self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Right.
And that comes from their parents, right? Like if you've heard the conversation, oh, I'm not good at math. Oh, math skipped me, and those are little throwaway comments, but they mean the world to your daughter and to your
Mm,
son to a certain extent. So
right.
because they adopt that whole, oh, well, if my mother can't do math, I can't do math either.
Right.
And so when if we are dealing with the parents' anxiety around math, maybe they had a bad experience in high school or middle school that shaped their whole attitude, it's a carryover. It's a carryover.
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, speaking of education, so your firm describes itself, and I quote, where educational vision meets strategic execution, which I love. It's so simple, but very powerful. What is it about STEM programs that excite you most? You told us a little bit how you dipped your toe into the water, but what really lights your fire about them, and what are some myths you think we need to bust about STEM programs?
What lights me up is the opportunity they afford to kids who otherwise might not get it, right?
Mm.
When they're done really well, there is empirical data that says that they make all the difference in the mindset and thoughts of a student. The confidence grows in students, whether that's their mathematical ability, their science ability, their technological thoughts and knowledge. It matters. That STEM programs really matter. They're not just this one and done thing, right? So that's what lights me up. Just seeing a kid actually get it and then be able to replicate it.
Mm.
It's the absolute best. Um, and the myth that I wish we would get away from is that exposure is enough. you know,
Oh God,
like,
that is so true. This
you
is gonna be
know,
really unpopular, Natasha. I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but I'm so tired of seeing. Oh, well, just they just need to know about it. Oh, maybe, but it's so much more than that.
no, it's deeper than that. I mean, people are like, no, we still need to expose. But there's a part of me that says we've been exposing for like 20 years.
We have. I'm not a very patient person though, so maybe that's my problem. But
I mean, but you know what? I mean, I get it, but like if we're doing a STEM expo every year, it's the same people. Like the same people are coming back. So it's like we need to go deeper than that. We need to make STEM learning the norm, right? So it's exposure. Yes, expose them to a new thing, sure, but then go deeper than that. Like we need to do that, especially if we're still talking about, STEM job shortages, people with skill sets that we need for jobs of the now and jobs of the future. We got to get past exposure. We got to get into what makes this thing do what it's doing. And then how do we, if you're going to, really have a child think through or a student think through processes or innovation or creativity, how do I get this thing to do something that maybe I haven't thought about before, or something I want it to do this, it can't quite do that yet. Can you help me, solve this particular issue? Like that's how we push the envelope, and that's what we
yeah,
want kids to do.
I love it. Well, this, as you know, February is Black History Month, and so I would be remiss if I didn't talk about. And we had a little pre-conversation, by the way, audience, about women and particularly women of color in STEM. But as a Black woman, obviously in STEM and an advocate for equity, you've written about and obviously have the podcast about the journey of being the first or only for yourself and then others in many rooms. So I want you to speak directly to the women and girls of color that are either watching or listening to us right now. What do you hope your presence and your work can communicate to them?
I really want them to know that I do this because I really here's the thing. I always think about how can I replicate myself in real time, right?
Mm,
Not necessarily my experiences, but me, a Black woman in a STEM space, right? we are literally like the anomaly in the matrix. We are
Oh
needed,
yeah. And I've been in industry for 25 plus years and you are the anomaly.
right?
Yeah.
We are
Sad to
Neo,
say.
right?
Go ahead.
So to me, I'm like, I really want us to shine, let our brilliance shine through, step up in meetings, know that you're in a place, you're there in the room because you deserve to be in the room. Don't take less than you are due. Do good work, and shine in all the ways I know that you can shine. If you don't know, it's really okay to say I don't know, but be willing to learn. And in order for us to learn, sometimes we have to be wrong. And I know that sometimes the environment doesn't set itself up for us to be wrong in spaces. But then
Yeah.
that's where mentors, that's where our colleagues, that is where other people who look like us, like, other women of color, other women, can come into play. Like, call your girlfriend who's a fellow engineer and be like, hey, this happened today. How do I handle this
Mm,
situation? Or these calculations aren't mathing. What are you using, right? Because sometimes we feel isolated in this space, and that can carry over into like there's no one out there to help you, which is exactly why I do
yeah.
the podcast, because I want them to first know you're not alone, right? Your experience is special to you, of course, but there are other people out there who will help support you, want to help support you, and know your value already. And two,
Yeah.
that we need you. If we're being completely honest,
Yeah.
we need you. We need more women engineers in general. And but then when we talk about, we get down into the numbers of ethnicities and racial divisions and makeups, man, like where are we?
It's sad. I think the stat we talked about, and it could be an old one. It was
Mm,
about 6% of engineering graduates are women of color. The last stat I saw from, I think it was
I
from the
think you're
Society of Women Engineers, but it's a few years old.
Yeah, I think that actually, I think it might be a little bit higher, but it's still dismal in
Right.
comparison. So I really want women to know that their value, that they are valued in this space, and that we need you. They need engineers, engineering in general they need that. I'm going to say the feminine energy. I put that in quotes because that's a whole
Right.
thing now. But there's a thought that women are more detail oriented. Women that sort of can see towards the future in a way that sometimes men
Mm,
can't. I'm not, I'm not stereotyping men at all. These are all things that have been researched by people. Uh,
right.
and
Yeah.
so I'm speaking on the things that I know that have been researched. So there is a place for us, there is a need for us. And so if you have even an inkling of an interest, go full blast at it. Go full. And if you want to know like where you can find support, reach out to me. I'm pretty certain that all my information will be somewhere at the end of
It
this,
will be in the show notes
and it'll be
on
in the
this
show
one.
notes. That's
That's
right.
right.
So if you are interested in finding out, like, hey, is there a girls group? If there's this, there is a engineering group of women that is close by, then please find it, because we need you and we want you
Yeah,
to.
and I would even say I haven't had the opportunity to listen to your podcast, but if there's a guest on there that interests you, I can promise you most women, if you go on LinkedIn, I'll use that as an easy example, and you reach out to them, most people are not going to say no, especially if I can tell you if a women engineer reaches out to me and says, would you be willing to have a virtual with coffee with me? My answer is always yes.
Yes.
It
And,
might be a little delayed if there's something going on, but my answer is always yes.
right. And that's the thing, is because we know what this is, right? All of the good, the bads, the highs and lows of it all. We know and understand and can speak to it. And we really want you to be successful. That's the thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do really think this is a little bit of an aside. I was sharing this with some of folks in a different women's group, but I think women are very good at seeing around corners. And if you think about the environment we're in, where it's very dynamic, you have to be very agile. I think women excel in those environments.
Yeah.
So I think the time, it may seem a little crazy, but I think the time is right for women to step into those type roles.
Agree 100%. It is, I love the see around corners portion. I hadn't thought of it in quite that way, but that's probably a more apt way of putting it, what a woman brings to the team. Because that's the other lovely thing about engineering is that nobody really works alone. You always work with a team. And so if you have a woman or women on your team, can you imagine how high powered that team has the potential to be?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to dive into a question about
Sure.
leadership habits.
Mhm.
You've obviously built a lot of leadership capacity and cultural change, which I love. It's not easy. I've done it in some of my own work, and it's so hard. What do you think two or three leadership habits you have, or you believe every leader should need in this kind of STEM education initiative? Like, what do you think is the secret leadership sauce to figuring that out?
I think I will say first that you have to know your team. And I know that takes time. So like I'm not saying there's like this is going to be an immediate win right now. I'm saying your team is only as good as you can lead them to be. So you have to know who on your team is, works a little slower. Who on your team is always going to want to charge ahead? Who on your team is more methodical? Who on your team thinks this way, right? Know your team. And that also says that you'll know when and how to push them to move things forward in just the way that will have the team as a whole moving forward or taking the leap, because sometimes you have
Mm,
to take a leap and
right.
everyone, the majority of them will be fine. You know,
Yeah. So to your point, don't put more risk averse person into a role that requires taking more of a leap. Make them more
correct.
of a support person, I'll call it.
Right. So you have to know where to place them on the team. One of the best books I read, oh gosh, and the name just went away. It'll come back.
You'll come back to you.
He talks about, getting the right people on the bus and getting the wrong people off the bus, and then when you have the right people on the bus, um, putting them in the right seats. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of leaders think when they get all of the bad people off the bus, okay, we good to go. But no, you could have a well qualified person on the bus, but you have him or her in the wrong seat and it
Yep.
matters. So that means that me as the leader, I have to know what skills they have, how
Mm,
what their thought processes are, and then where they will shine that will help the team be at its best.
mm,
And that's a particular skill that takes a little bit of time. The other thing I'll say is that as a leader, you have to know when to call it. Sometimes, I
That's
mean,
not easy. It's a lot easier said than done, right?
oh, trust me. I
Yeah.
because yeah, and I was talking to my husband the other day. I was just like, I don't I don't necessarily quit a lot of things, right? And especially in STEM, it's like some of the biggest lessons and some of the things that help move things forward is when you sort of say, everybody take your hands off. We're going to stop this for now. Come back after a couple of days and then see, right? It's like one of those things where failure, if you will, I always say failure is first attempt in learning.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm,
but failure is your biggest teacher, and then it'll tell you where to go to sort of reverse the failure, if you will,
mm,
right? But you have to be willing to say, okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? And then let's do that thing, right? Or let's put
mm.
things in place so that we don't experience this type of failure again. Maybe another type of failure, but not this one.
Yeah.
And be willing to take your lumps, right? Because of course, it's like something doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Somebody's got to be at fault, and you have to be willing to say, "Yep, that's me. That's me."
Yeah, seeing failure is a good thing. I love it. And then really, I jokingly say I don't like to be beat by anything, even myself, right?
Yep,
Um, but sometimes you have to quote unquote get beat and then pick up and start over to your point.
yeah.
And I think the competitor in me is like, no, I can figure this out.
Same. Have spent entire evenings and nights like, nah, this thing will not beat me. It will not beat me. And then I've really had to say, you know what? I'm going to put it all down and I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to come back
Yep.
tomorrow and I'm going to have a new thought, you know?
Or maybe this is not what I should be doing at all. But I think that's a hard lesson to learn, but I love it. I think it's a key
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think, I don't think February is American Heart Month as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pivot a little bit on that, but it feels like the perfect time to talk about heart behind what we do. And I can tell you have a lot of heart and passion for what you do, the programs you've built, the partnerships, the people. What do you think keeps the heart? What's the heart of those initiatives? What keeps your heart and the heart of those initiatives beating strong?
Um, it's providing opportunity for community, right? That's, I think for me, not I think, I know. For me, I really enjoy developing a program for a school, a nonprofit, a community of people where they're going to be able to impact the lives of so many students um, in a really big way, even if it's like, oh, I know this is not for me, right? But that gives me such joy. Um,
Mm.
and because I think a lot of people think that STEM has to have all of the bells and whistles, and I know this is a little off topic, but I'm coming back. Um, but STEM can be simple, and I think when people realize that it can be simple and that they can use it to reach more people, and when I'm able to translate that message to whoever it is I'm working with, uh, and have them adopt that mindset. Like STEM is simple. Like it's you don't have to have coding and robots and all that other stuff to do STEM. You don't even have to, have a person who's dedicated to STEM. You just need to be willing to learn different things. And
Mm.
that is the mindset shift. And I absolutely
Mm.
love that. And when I see a school change their mind, or see a nonprofit change their mind, or see a community say, oh, this is something that I can do, and that it is something that they're fully engaged in and they want to invest in it, there's not a better feeling in the world, because I know that it's not only going to change the lives of students, but it's going to change the lives of those adults as well.
Yeah, the community. That's what I've really learned from you today. It's not just the children, although that's obviously an important part of it. It's really the community around them. It's their parents, it's guardians, it's teachers, it's the people that interact with the school for whatever reason. It's the broader community.
So the truth of the matter is that if you're investing in STEM, you can't just put in a STEM lab and be like, we're going to hand it all over to this one person and that just go with it, right? This has to be a whole school investment in some way, shape, or form, right? And I'm not saying everybody in the building's got to be STEMified, right? Like they don't. But at the same time, there is a mindset shift that creativity, innovation, like the thoughts of like the constant thoughts of, I don't know, but I can find out, permeates the building. That
Oh,
change,
that's interesting because you got to be innovative no matter what you
that,
do, right? You
but
you
how,
you should want to be creative no matter what you do.
it, whether that's in writing, whether that's in, social studies, it's like the thought of like parts of the things that happened in our history was because somebody got curious about something. What if I did this, right? Oh, that didn't, okay, I've blown up a building or something. I'm just saying, but
Right.
but some of the things that have happened in our histories because somebody had a thought like, let's do it different. Oh, let's put a deal together that no one's ever seen, and it was a historic deal. It's because somebody thought outside of the box. Somebody said, what if we do it like this? What if we don't do what we normally do, we do something else? What if we put these things in place? That can change a whole school, change a whole community, change a whole everybody.
That is so cool. I never thought about that because I've always been in the sciences. That's what lights me up. So that's interesting. It can permeate. So you talk about you love to see kind of the heart of the initiative is you love to see it explode. You love to see it. I would call it invade in a good way. That's not coming out the right word and just seep into the culture.
Yeah.
So I think once that happens, programs probably try to scale. And if I'm right, you've helped secure over $1.85 million in funding.
Yeah.
And so you've helped people build dozens of partnerships to scale these initiatives. What are some stumbling blocks you see? So people start, it seeps into the culture, you can feel the excitement, and then they're going to try to scale. Like what happens then?
Yeah, so this is actually really interesting. So when a person tries to scale, first thing they should do, because people think that, oh, well, I'll just do this times two. That's not what scaling is.
Mm,
Okay, so like that is the thought. Like, okay, instead of one program, I'll have two, and I'll replicate this across town. Well, the community is not the same across town, right? So what this
right.
community needs, that community may not need. They may need something totally different. So it is scaling is strategic. And do
Mm,
what kind of outside support do you have, right? So is the community welcoming to you at this moment? Is there a corporation that you're partnering with that is going to help fund and I say fund, and I mean that in two ways. They're going to fund it in terms of money, but they're going to fund it in terms of people, right?
mm,
Do you have a location? Who is that location? What things do they need? So before you scale, I always tell people you need to do an assessment of your current programs, and figure out like, okay, what are the things that we do well, but what are our gaps? Because again, if you're scaling, you don't want to scale with the gaps, right? You want to make sure that you're showing up those gaps before you scale. And
mm.
then you look at where you want to scale to. That's number two. I'm giving away all my little secrets. Uh,
Oh, it is a lot more complicated than that. The devil's in the details, so to
it
say.
it is. It's very, because people are like, oh, we're just gonna move across town. It's not that simple. So you really need to do some thinking about what it means when you think about scaling. I have an assessment that I generally do with people who said, I think we're ready to scale. Okay, well, let's take a look at your current program or programs to see if you really are ready to scale. It's one thing for you to be at capacity where you are and then think, okay, we're going to move someplace else because we have more people than we have space.
And people probably get some external pressure to scale. So if you're at school one, let's say, and it's going really well, they may be getting pressure from, I don't know, the school board, I'll make that up,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
go to school two, three, and four and replicate what you've done, right?
Well, see, replication is different than scaling. So
Oh,
that's
good
another thing.
point.
So
Oh, good point. Okay.
so the other part of that is that because people are like, yes, well, you did it here, you can do it there too. It's not going to be the same program because these students are not like the students at elementary A.
Hmm.
Elementary B has its own culture, its own flavor, its own, all the things. Has its own group of teachers, has its own group of administrators who think differently. And then, most people forget, well, how long did it take you to get the teachers on board? How long did it take you you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like, we're just going to plop this program here and it's going to be successful. Is it? Is it? So
Yeah, you probably get a little bit of that not invented here mentality.
correct. And so it's more complicated than most people think. They don't give it its due. In a year we're going to get this program up and running, and we're going to bring in X number 100 students to begin with, and it's like, what if we just started with 35? What if we just started with 20? Did a pilot, see if it's going to really be what this community needs, tweak it so that after that first year, first 6 months or so, we can see, okay, so these are the things that they need, and then we grow the program that way.
Hmm. Interesting. I learned a lot in that one, listeners. You should have took notes on change management if you weren't taking notes on that one.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have a little bit of fun time. Not that we haven't had a lot of fun in your 20+ year journey from engineer to founder to equity strategist. What are some of the funniest or a funny? What was I thinking moment? Like you get in the middle of something and you're like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Oh, the first time that I did this is going way back. So my first STEM program was way more than I ever thought. And I was literally in the middle of it. I'll tell you a funny story. So I did a STEM expo with the school system in my area. I was working or I was working with a community college. And so I was using their conference center, and they gave it to me for free. I'd gotten a whole bunch of the professors, associate professors, and everybody to be like, you guys be the vendors and show the kids. And then had hired some other vendors to come in and do some other things for the kids. There were over, I want to say, 300 kids that showed up at this event at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can't get into the building. So I'm sitting there like, oh, wow, this is going to be a thing. I'm knocking on the door. I mean, because the conference center has got, all glass doors. I can't get into a single one. So I called the conference center director, and she was just like, oh, well, so and so was supposed to be here. They're not here. The event is going to start in 30 minutes. I have the vendors here. We're all standing outside.
Oh
So,
gosh.
so I
I'm panicking for you.
I so she came. Thank God she lived close by. She lived maybe like 15 minutes away. So she came, she opened up. And when I tell you, it was such a rush job to get the people up, all the vendors set up, and oh,
Sure.
you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to be there, and you're
Oh
like,
my goodness.
oh, you needed an extension cord. Oh, man, all of that's happening, right? And at some point, I stopped and I literally just started laughing. So
I know you were
I,
new into it. Maybe one of the lessons is have an event, somebody on your team that's like an event planner.
I mean, because it was all me. It was all me all the time. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is not my 10 area.
No.
No.
Oh my gosh. But I'm gonna on the flip side. I know you've had some light bulb moments when you thought, this has been kind of rough. It's hard. Sometimes it's heavy.
Yeah.
Well, will you describe a moment and like an inspiring moment for that for you that really like said, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be?
Oh, that just happened recently, actually. So I was asked to do some teacher PD for a charter school. And I, for some reason, I was really nervous, right? I was just like,
Mm,
oh, I don't know if they're going to want to hear what I have to say, if this is going to really resonate with them.
mm.
I'm having all of these doubts about my my qualifications, right? Because it's like, well, I mean, who is she, right? Um, I go in there, and the session was 75 minutes, and I'm talking them through it. We're doing work. We're having the conversation that I wanted to have, and we ended up going over for about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. So it ended up being 90 minutes. Um, and it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I know what my intentions were, but I don't know if they matched what they got, right?
Yeah.
After that, I'm picking up my stuff and unplugging the PowerPoint and all the
Right.
things. And I have a group of teachers come up and they said, I want you to know that yours was the most impactful session of the day.
Oh, wow.
And they said, you gave us actionable steps that we can do right now. They were easy. They weren't overwhelming, and we can see the immediate benefit to our kids. And
Oh, man.
I literally wanted to cry. So,
I'm like I'm picturing that moment, that room, and you're
yeah,
probably feeling a little tired, unsure of yourself, right? Did this go the way I wanted it to go?
yeah.
And then you get that infusion.
Yeah, like I said, I'm getting a little teary eyed now, but it meant the world to me because again, teachers are, they spend a lot of time with the kids, and for them to have an understanding of what the potentialities of STEM is and can be, and how to do it in very simple ways, like not these grandiose kind of thing that people think when they think about STEM, but very simple, STEM mindset, helping kids adopt the STEM mindset in their classroom. Again, innovation, creativity, all the things.
Mm.
um, and for her, them actually to say that meant Yeah.
And you're making a difference. I mean, I have my final question. It sort of relates to this, but I love that you're making a difference, and you get the benefit of having those moments and seeing either the kids change or teachers change or an entire community start to expand their thinking.
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty impactful. My final question, and I usually end with some wisdom for our listeners. And you and I both know, and our listeners probably know, that when you're walking in your purpose, it's not always easy. There's some moments that feel heavy, or progress is just slow, grinding to a halt. What keeps you going in those moments? What wisdom would you share with our listeners if they're in a tough space or they're trudging through a project or something? How do they stay heart forward when it gets hard?
Oof. So purpose work is hard. I think you said it and acknowledged that. So there are the lessons that I've learned being on this journey are the most impactful and meaningful of my entire life. So
Mm,
I'll just get that out of the way. One one bit of wisdom that keeps me grounded is that I'm a person of faith. I'm a woman of faith, and
mm,
so I have outside interests that keep help to keep me grounded. I am
mm,
married with two kids, and so
mm,
my family keeps me grounded as well. They're the ones who build me up, but they're also the ones who keep me honest, right? They're
mm,
also the one that says not that, but this. Um,
mm,
and so have those things on the ready because again, this work isn't easy, but it is meaningful and impactful. I'm also a person who really I have affirmations all over my office.
That's something I need to do. Although my mom lives with me, as many of our listeners know, she'd probably come and look at all the sticky notes and be like, "What is wrong with you?"
Now, I promise you, I felt the same way until probably maybe like last year and then I started writing out the things that I wanted to see happen, like, manifestation, all those things. And
Mm.
but I've seen them happen, right? And
Oh.
after I wrote them down, like these, and I know this to be true. When I finished my dissertation a long time ago, I said that I wanted to defend my dissertation by my anniversary. My anniversary
Mm.
is June the 5th. I finished my dissertation on May 31st.
Oh, wow.
I wrote it down. I put it in front of me. It was the screensaver on my computer. So I've seen things like that happen and work for me.
Mm.
And so for me, I I need to be able to see and say those words to myself until I believe them.
Mm.
Right. And so having that in front of me really works. Saying prayers, going with my girlfriends are always the ones
Well,
who
you
are.
brought the one I was going to bring you back to that you brought up at the very beginning was community. So I love that you brought it back to your girlfriends. I think for women, community is key.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. I mean, my girlfriends, uh, they are super funny. But again, they're also the ones that will also say, "Yeah, that don't even sound like you. What are you talking about? Like, go, it's like when you're trying to sound too frou-frou, like, whatever it is." So
Right.
they keep me honest.
I love that. Well, you brought the wisdom today. I have learned so much about kind of what STEM can do that I never thought about as a STEM professional. So, Dr. Natoshia Anderson, you are amazing. Where can people find you or connect with you if they're looking to learn more about your work?
Okay, so you can find me at a couple places. You can find me on LinkedIn, and it is Natoshia Anderson, EDD. Natasha is spelled Natoshia. Don't talk about it. It is my name. Okay. So, and it's spelled and it said Natasha, so you don't have to worry about saying all the syllables. Natasha.
I
I
had to ask that question too, listeners, by the way.
Right, right. So I mean, my whole life.
Yeah.
Um, but you can also find me on my website. My website is theandersonstrategygroup.com. I also have a website, and it's natashaanderson.com. All one word. So you can find me at any of those places. You might be able to find me on TikTok. It's Dr. Tasha. So I'm always talking about something STEM, teacher, education related. because I love what I do and I love who I do it for.
I love it. Well, Dr. Natasha, thanks you so much for being here. It was wonderful to meet you. And I know our listeners learned a lot today. So happy Black History Month, happy Heart Month, everyone. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone. This is such a powerful conversation to sit with, especially during a month that invites us to lead with heart and reflect on the impact we are all making. Dr. Natoshia Anderson reminded us today that STEM, it isn't just about programs, technology, or exposure. At the end of the day, it's about people. It's about community. It's about creating environments where curiosity is welcomed, confidence is nurtured, and possibility feels so incredibly real, especially for those who've been told, directly or indirectly, that they do not belong. One moment that stayed with me was her reminder that meaningful, purpose-driven work, it is not always easy, but it is always, every time, worth it, especially when it's rooted in service and connection. And that brings me to a quote that feels especially fitting for this episode and this particular moment. Maya Angelou once said, "People may forget what you said or what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." That's the heart of STEM. That's the heart of leadership. And that's the heart of community. So, here, my friends, is your call to action as we honor both American Heart Month and Black History Month. Lead with intention. Be that person who makes space. Ask the extra question, even if you get the side eye. Encourage curiosity in yourself and in others. And if you, and you all are, in a position to open a door, widen the pathway behind you. And just as importantly, stay connected. None of this work is meant to be done alone. Community is what sustains us when the work feels heavy and what amplifies impact when things start to click. And if you're new to the Empowering Women podcast or the Empowering Women in Industry community, welcome. We are so glad you're here. You'll find links in the show notes to connect with Dr. Anderson, explore our resources, and continue the conversation. And there's one little small favor that makes a big difference. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs this message. That's how these stories travel and how community grows. And until next time, stay bold, stay heart forward, and keep igniting your fire within.